Leslie Dala, our guest, he is a musician. He's the music director of the Vancouver Academy of Music Symphony Orchestra. He is the director of Bach Choir. Bach Choir, 1930s.
Yeah.
That's quite the choir. And Vancouver Opera, and you work with other people, and you work with the Prince George Symphony. Now back to the question.
Yes.
What do you do? If you're in the orchestra pit or you're up in front, when you just can't seem to get everybody to do what you want them to do.
Well, I'll tell you, in my experience, people are always the most alert in concerts, in performance. So it's rare that there would be a situation where somebody is completely zoned out. I mean, it happens that things aren't always, things don't go according to plan, say. But what I found is that the moment that something like that happens, everybody's antenna just go up, and then immediately focus on, you know, in this case, the conductor, to resolve the issue and to sort of bring everything back. And it's amazing. I've seen some incredible saves, and I've thought of times where, you know, you're sweating bullets. Like, oh my God! I mean, it's happened to me where something starts to get out, and you really just send all of your energy to that one place to please come back and join the rest of us on shore. It's safe here. Here's the life, you know, the jacket. So,
what does it feel like? As opposed to sitting in an audience, which I know you have done. Now you're, as I said, the commanding general.
Right.
What's the feeling? Is it thrilling? Is it work? Is it?
It's beyond thrilling. It's also at times, I won't say terrifying, but it's the kind of thing where, you know, there's a lot of apprehension or just excitement, but to sort of, you know, raise your arms to indicate something, and then for the music to begin is an unbelievable kind of feeling.
Yes, and apparently it's very good for your body, because as it's said,
true.
Conductors live long because you move a lot of lymph around.
It's very true, and I mean, you know, your system is just pumping. I've read many biographies of conductors who later in life, you know, were really becoming quite ill. And I'm thinking of Karajan's last concert. Apparently, he could barely move. He had to be helped up onto the podium. But as soon as he began, they said he looked like someone 30 years younger, and it was like this beatific sort of state of transcendence. Because again, you enter into the realm of music.
Yes, and it speaks to the power of music to inspire,
Absolutely.
to cross borders. Do you have a favorite composer, a Beethoven, a Brahms, a Bach?
You know, I would say all of the above to some extent. I've gone through phases where I've really sort of zeroed in on somebody, but now again, I like to be more inclusive about it. I think it's marvelous that there's so much great music over such a huge span of time to be able to choose from.
Do you buy CDs or download classical music? Do you have to?
You know, it's amazing. These days, the resources like YouTube are incredible. I mean, everything is there. But I'm kind of old-fashioned. I like CDs. I don't buy them as frequently as I used to, but to me, there's something very, I mean, I loved records when there were records.
Right.
And just the artwork and all of you know, there was something that you could really explore.
So you were alive when we had records,
I was alive, yes, I was alive.
Okay,
yeah,
in the vinyl age.
In the
That's good to know, that's good to know. Some of it's coming back, you know, the purists.
Right, well, I mean, I have kids, and I sometimes use the word album, and my kids are, what's that? So,
right.
You know.
And do your kids play?
Yeah, they both study piano right now, and I'm keen to get them involved with more things as well, but, you know, over time, yeah.
Threepenny Opera, you directed that, right?
I did, yeah.
Kurt Weill's Threepenny Opera?
That's right. Morris Panich production, yeah, that was great.
Was my friend Jeannie Stillwell in that?
Oh, yes,
by
she
any
was,
chance?
yeah.
Yes, because I was with her getting tattoos. As you know, she always gets tattoos.
That's right.
After an opera, usually. And I know that they said to her, well, you'll have to have tattoos for 3 pennies. She said, I've got them. It's odd for an opera singer.
That's very true.
A mezzo-soprano to have tattoos.
There's nothing ordinary about Jean
Nothing
Stillwell.
ordinary, and we're good pals. So I'll tell her hi, or you tell her hi, because you'll probably see her before I see her, because she's in Toronto doing radio now.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Women conductors, not too many, or are there?
It's changing. I think it's changing a lot. I think once upon a time it was just the whole, you know, sort of chauvinistic attitude. I mean, for heaven's sakes, I mean, the Vienna Philharmonic didn't even have women players until, you know, whenever the year was, 99. They still didn't, right? So again, if you can imagine, if you're not going to be inclusive about people in the orchestra, then imagine putting, you know, someone at the head. But I know quite a few female conductors who are thriving and doing great.
And how are you at singing?
Well, because I had my training as a boy soprano, and then going through I love singing. I don't consider myself a singer anymore, but I like to use the voice to demonstrate when I'm in rehearsal. Sometimes it's more precise in a way than saying, can you play this note longer, this note shorter, because so much of what you do is about the phrasing. And so you can demonstrate that with the voice very naturally, because it's what woodwind players do and what string players do with their bow.
Yes, so you do. Like, give
da,
me an
da,
example.
da, da, for even the shortness of that, the length of D, which is going to be on our program on Sunday night at the Orpheum with the Academy Orchestra.
That program is going to be sensational.
It's a very special program.
I'm predicting. Tell me about it. It's called Eternal Light, honoring Wallace Leung. Tell me about him first.
Wallace Leung was a young man who died very tragically. It's been 10 years since the anniversary.
Conductor.
That's right. He grew up in Vancouver and Richmond. He started conducting already in his teens. He worked with he was a violinist in the Delta Youth Orchestra, and he sort of started to assist with them, and then I think they appointed him as the intermediate conductor. He became the music director of the Vancouver Philharmonic Orchestra, which is a community orchestra in town, in his early 20s, which these days there's a real emphasis on youth in conducting. You hear about these big major appointments for conductors in their 20s, but even 15 years ago that just was not the case. People, to be a successful conductor, you had to be at least 40 or so in order to have experience. Wallace was really an exception. I mean, he was starting to build his career. And he was very active in the city. He ran the Little Chamber Music Series, which used to be in residence at the college.
Yes, he was a galvanizing force,
exactly.
really.
Yeah, he would call you up and say, I've got this great project, and you would go and do it because you knew it was going to be really interesting, it would be really well done, and it'd be a lot of fun. He was a wonderful person to work with. He became one of my closest friends. And in fact, one of my first conducting appointments was as his assistant.
Really?
Yeah, which was just fantastic. And he was such a generous person that, he was the one guy. Conductors can be very, very weird sometimes. It can be very competitive because there's so many people, and everybody thinks they're God's gift to whatever. And so you're trying to get a chance to get in front of an ensemble to prove something. And he was just great. If he saw somebody come along and he thought they were talented, he was trying to create opportunities for them, not push them out of the way or something. And so in any event, Wallace had just become music director of the Prince George Symphony, and he was in his first season when he became quite ill, and he was in New York City. He was in a coma, and he never recovered from that.
Do they know why?
They think, he had seizures. Apparently he was not feeling so well. At that time, actually, I was living in France. I was working for an opera company over there. So literally the last 4 months of his life, I was the furthest I'd been away. Usually we saw each other at least once a week. So it was a bit of a blank period. So I just got a phone message and with this shocking news that he was in hospital, and no one really knew what had happened. But like I say, he was just a great guy and a wonderful musician. And so we're paying tribute to him in this concert. We're opening with a work by John Estasio, who's the composer of Lily and Ollie, that a lot of people in Vancouver would have seen.
Speaking of operas.
Yes. And John wrote this piece for the CBC Radio Orchestra in 2005, and he dedicated it to Wallace's memory. And it's called Light Eternal, and it's some text from Dylan Thomas inspired it. Go not softly into the night. And so it's a kind of, it's not an angry piece, it's an incredibly beautiful piece, but it has moments of this kind of struggling, mortality, basically. And it features a beautiful cello solo at the beginning and at the end of the piece, which our executive director, Joseph Elworthy, is going to play.
He played a cello solo here.
So I understand.
In the morning. He got up early. Like singers hate that because they don't want to
Most
sing in the morning.
musicians are not the biggest fans in the morning.
Obviously, your fingers still move early in the morning, depending on your age, but, Yo-Yo Ma, Casals and whatever, played, and there he is. Amazing. What does he tell you about your job? What's the pecking order at the Vancouver Academy?
Well, he's the boss. He's the big boss.
He's the big boss.
Yeah,
and he's a fabulous cellist.
He's a fabulous musician. He's a fabulous guy. He has endless amounts of energy. He's so committed to everybody in that building and to the vision of that building, which is to provide a really sound music education, to give kids the chance to excel and also to explore, but most importantly to really just be inspired and love music, not to be afraid of it.
Right, and he's put his stamp on the Academy.
He really
he's
has.
encouraged
in such a short time.
Elders to come and learn or relearn, because often, as you know, if you played an instrument in your youth and then you got a real job. I shouldn't say a real job, but you didn't hit the big time.
Yeah.
So you had to go back to the office and be an accountant or something, but you've always had a deep love for music or your instrument.
Yeah, it's very all-inclusive, which is a really beautiful thing, and which gives us the room too. With with the orchestra, we have a lot of woodwind players. So generally, what happens is some people will sit first chair or even play first and second for one piece, and then two other folks will play another piece. So there's a kind of sharing with that, and they're getting expert coaching from our coaches who are members of the Vancouver Symphony, who've been doing this for years. So it's really there's a great support system there. So we're going to open with that piece of John Estacio. We have a very talented 16-year-old girl, Esther Wong, violinist, who is the soloist in the Brahms Violin Concerto. She won the concerto contest, and we're playing Beethoven's Fifth Symphony in the second half, which is ironically the very last piece I saw Wallace conduct. So there is that kind of connection.
So there's
as
a
well.
connection.
Yeah.
A big connection, obviously. I bet you miss him.
I miss him a lot, and we just had a gathering of friends this past weekend to do a little intimate concert, and it was very moving, and it was amazing how people, again, when I put the word out about this, they just rallied because he meant so much to them, and we all have really fond memories of this great individual.
I'm sure. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you. Leslie Dala, our guest. Vancouver Academy of Music Symphony Orchestra presents Eternal Light, honoring Wallace Leung. That's this Sunday.
Sunday night, yes.
7:30 p.m.
At the Orpheum.
The Orpheum. Good place to be, the Orpheum. You like the acoustics, you like the backstage.
It's got the old world charm. It has a beautiful acoustic, and it's a thrilling thing for the students too, because you're playing to 2,700 seats, and they generally.
I know, it's an amazing theater. It feels right.
It feels right.
Feels like it should be there.
That's right.